Beaming across the counties of Essequibo, Demerara, and Berbice, this is Kaicho Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Kaicho Radio, the radio with a difference.
Is 14 hours 1 in Guyana, and you're tuned into the radio with a difference, a great choice, the right choice. Yes, that is 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. And it is time for elections and COVID-19 watch this afternoon. Again, as usual, senior journalist of Kaicho News, Leonard Gildarie, and Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hi, yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon, dear Kevin Smith, and good afternoon, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. How are you doing, my friend? Yog, you there?
I am well, thank you. And yes, good afternoon to you, Kevin Smith. Good afternoon to our guests today, too. How are you, Leonard? I'm fine here listening to some of the new happenings out of our Tuchon Convention Centers, where some boxes seem to be missing their pink stuff. So, so all of that we have to discuss today, I guess.
Well, it's much more than that, Yoga. We know that this is a special edition of the elections and COVID-19 watch. And while plenty things happening with election, I must tell you that today we're privileged to bring some great news to you. And let me tell you what is happening there. Two things. People are sitting there, and while elections is ongoing, the Recon that is, they're waiting to hear some news as to whether there is some relief. And we know that there's a huge chunk of the Guyanese population that are not working at the moment. While the public servants are working, there's still a significant portion of the private sector who have been mandated to stay home. It's non-essential. We could talk about those businesses along Regent Street and so many others across the country that can't open. In a very short while, we're gonna have with us here. I think she's already online. Christina Correia, and of course she is the marketing officer of the Demerara Bank Limited. And I want to say welcome to Christina. We're going to jump right into the show as we open the lines a little later. We want to say welcome to Christina. And Christina is here to talk to us about one big thing that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, Yog. And that is, what is the business community and the banks and so on, corporate Guyana, doing for the customers, for the people of Guyana? And then bank has rolled out so many things. So I want to say good afternoon to everybody who's joined us across the nation today, across the Caribbean, across Europe, across North America. Thank you once again for joining us, myself and Dr. Yog Mahadeo, on this special edition of Elections and COVID-19 Watch. And of course, welcome to our guest here today, Christina Correia. You there, ma'am? How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Doctor. Good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie, and good afternoon, Mr. Mahadeo. Thank you for inviting me to your program.
Well, it's a pleasure. I think Demerara Bank. I think it was described, or it describes itself as the first indigenous bank of Guyana. Am I correct?
Yes, we are the local bank. We are your local bank. We've been in existence for the past 25 years. In fact, we've celebrated our 25th anniversary just last November. We have 7 branches strategically located across the country, and we continue to provide the population with efficient banking services. I know that we are facing a period of great uncertainty due to COVID at the moment, and our team, we continuously monitor the situation. I must say that our thoughts are with those affected, and we stand by ready to offer our support and assistance as best as we can.
So I thank you very much, dear Ms. Correia. And so I want to jump straight into it here. I think for the businesses, let's look at, there's two sides to this equation when it comes to COVID-19. One, when it comes to the customers, we would be very interested to know what some of the measures that the bank has put into place across the country at its various branches to ensure that the customers and as well as the staffers are protected. And then there's the other side. I think that's a big side. Plenty, I think it would be several hundreds, maybe thousands of customers with loans with Demerara Bank. and we were hoping to have a statement from the Guyana Banking Association as to what are some of the measures, and we're pretty glad that Demerara Bank has taken the leap into this divide here, into telling the people of Guyana what exactly it is that they're doing. And one of the first things that jump out at me, I understand that you guys have introduced an initial moratorium of 3 months for loans and advances, and there is going to be a contemplation for extension of this on a case-by-case basis. So if you have a loan, and I think their bank is doing that. So let's get into the business.
All right, so we understand that your income may be affected during this period of time, and what we have offered customers benefiting from loan facilities is an initial moratorium period of 3 months. Of course, that can be extended if the customer requires an extension. For customers benefiting from overdraft facilities, we have also reduced the interest rate so that the interest payment per month can be a little more manageable. Customers may have multiple loan facilities with us, and we're given consideration for those debts actually to be consolidated so that your installment is a bit more manageable. So those are 3 points that we can touch on in terms of credit facilities. But also we have what we call the relief loans and advances, where businesses which are now affected by COVID-19, if you're a DBL customer or even if you're not a DBL customer, you can come and you can contact us. Contact us by telephone, contact us by email, and we will be able to assess your case individually and offer whatever assistance we can during this period.
And so let's talk about some other things that you would have done to ease the pressure. And I talk pressure here, I think there might be an understatement, to ease the pressure on the people.
To ease the pressure on the people, the general community as a whole, we have commenced our distribution program to affected areas, and these include Soesdijk, Herstelling, Linden, and Wales. But apart from that, our customers who may not be able to come to the bank, out of precaution, we have made online banking possible for them. You can take advantage of our online platform, the e-banking service, to pay your bills. You can transfer between accounts. You can view your account balance up to 512 days. You can even send instructions to the bank for us to conduct transactions on your behalf, and some of those transactions might be wire transfers, issuance of manager's checks, and so on and so forth. Apart from that, we encourage our customers to utilize the ATM facility as much as possible to avoid having to come and stand in line. So our ATMs the limits on our ATM, they've actually been revised from $120,000 to $175,000 per day for withdrawals. Mm-hmm. So if you have an ATM card, if you have a statement savings account, we encourage you to utilize our ATM terminals. Apart from just withdrawals, cash deposits and check deposits can be done at the ATM. So for any cash deposits up to $300,000 and any check deposits up to $500,000, those can be facilitated through the ATM machine.
So I thank you. And before I hand you over to my colleague, dear Dr. Yog Mahadeo, I want to ask you, I see something very interesting here too. You're going to have a lot of big businesses, which is going to have some cash flow problem. And I understand that the Demerara Bank is saying that it will consider debt consolidation for the long-term loans in order for them to mitigate the cash flow problems, especially for the entrepreneurs. Tell us a little more about that.
So if you have multiple facilities with us, it may be difficult for you to service, let's say, 3-4 installments on a monthly basis. So apart from offering a moratorium, what we do is consolidate all of the debt into one. And so your installment is reduced. It would be a little more manageable to you, and this would assist with your cash flow problems.
And absolutely, dear. Yog, over to you. I know you're very interested in the protection, maybe over the customers, the 100,000 of customers that Demerara Bank has.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, ma'am. It's good. I must congratulate your bank and the other local banks that might have stepped up to the plate, because it's you guys. You would now know more than anyone else, maybe, the state of the Guyanese economy by looking at the transactions and looking at what's happening and whether debts are being serviced or not. Without telling tales out of your bank, I mean, would you have any statistics, any data at hand to say what percentages of debts might be, becoming non-performing? Is there any indication, or is it too early?
It's a bit too early, but while customers' income is affected at the moment, and while there may be some repayment issues, we are willing to work with the customers. As I said, we're offering a 3-month interim moratorium period, and if that period has to be extended, we will consider that.
Right. And just for our viewers and listeners out there, I mean, Leonard, from a finance and marketing perspective, we always throw these big terms at them, right? So if I tell you, Leonard, you have a moratorium on your loan payments, I want to tell everybody that while a bank, and correct me if I'm wrong, Christine, while a bank would be restructuring your loan and would be allowing you to defer your loan payments, what a bank also has to do is to look at how much it can absorb in that process. So because a bank doesn't print money, it loses interest upon its own servicing of its own debt and own portfolios as much as customers do. So it has to balance that out. Am I right, ma'am?
You're correct.
So tell us a little bit. Let's just change focus. Tell us a little bit what you're doing to protect your own staff, and how much measures you have put in place to help your staff are our brothers and sisters, and how much you're doing and what the bank is doing to protect your own team there.
Okay, so we always say that our employees are the backbone of our company, and that is something that we mean. At this moment, the health and well-being of our employees, our customers, and the communities in which we operate are our top priority. So if we were to begin at the start of the day when an employee reports for duty, one of the first things that happen is that the employee's temperature is checked to ensure that it's within the acceptable range, anything below 37.5 degrees. Apart from that, our banking hours have reduced. So previously, most banks are opened from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., but right now we're operating Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 12 noon. So as soon as we're able to serve our customers and the employees are finished with their duties, we encourage them to get home as fast as possible. Apart from that, as another safety measure that we have in place is that masks are worn at all times. That is guidance that the Bank of Guyana. That is a guidance that the Bank of Guyana has issued, and I must say that customers and employees have adopted that practice. If I'm to continue with the measures that we have put in place, sanitization. All of our branches, we have installed sanitization stations. So when a customer comes to the bank, one of the first things that he or she will notice is that we have a sanitization station. We encourage them to wash their hands thoroughly before proceeding to the teller. Once they're in the banking hall or even in the waiting area, we have stickers in those areas, which allows us to enforce social distancing requirements.
So you have these stickers on the floor to advise people where to stand. Correct. And wonderful. That's very good. In terms of the customers, the clients that come on, we do know that you, the bank, as a bank, you care more for the customers. However, we have gotten reports, not necessarily of Demerara Bank, but generally banking across the country, that you are enforcing, thankfully so physical distancing within the bank's confines. But what happens outside? Would you be able to say whether your bank has been paying heed to what's happening on the outside of the bank as well?
Definitely. So I can tell you at Demerara Bank, while we have stickers of social distancing inside of the bank and in our waiting areas, because we are now allowed to serve a reduced number of customers at any given time, some customers may have to stand and wait outside. But we have markings outside on the corridors that would assist us in carrying out social distancing.
Okay, good. You did, and just to highlight to our viewers and listeners, you did identify you have a moratorium, you have reduced interest in some stages, you're looking at restructuring and consolidating people's overheads and liabilities and all of that, and also you have increased your ATM limit. And those are four measures, Leonard, that look at really assisting the clients of the bank. But my other question with regards to that, has there been any discussion at the bank level as to what COVID-19 impact will have on you, the banker yourself?
Well, there are many impacts of COVID-19 currently. We are continuously monitoring, and measures will be taken to mitigate the risk as much as possible. Right now, what I would touch on is the operational impacts that we've had. And because of how COVID-19 has been progressing so far, the measures that we have implemented have been working, and the impact has been, it could have been worse, but we have reduced that impact significantly.
Great. The reason I asked you that question was, Leonard, you recall 2 nights ago we had economist Joel Bhagwandin on our discussion program, and then next week, Wednesday, we're going to have Taran Kamraj to look at the macroeconomic areas of Guyana's development in the region. And so we're very interested to know, of course, in all of that, because here is the other side of it, Leonard. Our guests would certainly know the construction industry has ground to a halt. People have gone to the bank, they have taken loans out for their cars, for their personal acquisitions of assets, and they have no salaries. So the bigger picture, and I'm not going to ask you to comment here, ma'am, unless you want to. The bigger picture, Leonard, is that Leonard Gildarie would have gone to Demerara Bank, taken out a loan to buy his Lexus vehicle. And he is now not working and he has no money to pay. So Leonard, while the bank is offering you a moratorium, which means it's allowing you to delay your payment, you still have to find the money to pay them.
Absolutely.
So Leonard, how do you plan, and this is the question we have for the policymakers, not the bank, how do you plan to expedite your life after COVID to still make sure that you're able to make all the payments?
Well, I think before Christina comes into play there, let me tell you one of the big questions that came up because of this. So your loan is for 4 years. It's not 4 years, 3 months. So you getting that loan put off about 3 months or you don't make any payments during that 3 months. Right. My question therefore would be to the bank: what happened to those 3 months? Is it added on to the 4 years, or what happens?
It is added on to, so you're not making payment for 3 months. And right. So you have, at the end of the loan period, at the end of the maturity period, you have an extra 3 months to clear the balance, which would have been delayed due to COVID-19.
In other words, Leonard, let me see if I get it right. In other words, what has happened is that the period of COVID is like taken out from the agreement, and you still have your 4 years in which you would pay. So the 3 months is added back at the back end.
Yes, there was a lot of concerns about that, whether it's going to be, whether you after COVID you would see an increase in your payments or whatever it is. These fears, right. You see a lot of fears about that.
That is very clear, yeah.
So, is there anything else you would want to add, Christina, before wrapping up as to what else Demerara Bank is doing?
Yes, quickly before we go, I'd like to just share some information. We are promoting an alternative to coming into the bank using online platforms that are available for your banking activities. Now, I mentioned that the ATM limit has been increased, but what I want customers also to know is that the ATM fees that has been waived, or point of sale fees that has been waived. If you have a credit card with us and you're required to make a minimum payment per month, that minimum payment has been waived, as well as any late fee on your credit card. So those are just a few pointers. We also have drop boxes that are installed at all of our branches for customers with passbook savings account or customers with current accounts who want to do check deposits. So instead of having to come and stand in queues we have those boxes that are available for you to just complete the slip and drop it into our box intermittently during the course of the day. Our officers will empty those boxes and have your transactions processed timely. So those are just a few pointers that I would like to share with the public.
So I do thank you very much there. That is the marketing officer for Demerara Bank Limited, Christina Correia. Yog, any other questions to Christina before she says goodbye?
No questions, except I think on behalf of the public and customers of your bank, thank you. You guys are doing well and keep it up. We certainly hope that, from a central government perspective, Leonard, that we'll have more decisive action with regards to interest rates and so forth. But I think the banks are doing a lot, that they can do under the circumstances. Remember, with COVID, everybody suffers. Everybody, has some weight to bear. So good job. Our congrats to Demerara Bank.
Yes, thank you very much, dear Christina Correia, and she's a marketing officer, Demerara Bank Limited. Thank you very much, ma'am, and all the best to you and your staffers and management, and of course the board of directors, and of course Dr. Yusuf Prasad. I hope that you say hello to him for us. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Thank you so much for the invite again.
I can tell you, Christina, whenever Leonard and Glenlal decide to start paying me, I'll come open an account with you.
No problem. So on that point, just before I leave, it's a good point to bring up. On that point, if you're interested in establishing an account with us, or even if you're interested in sending us a loan application, what you can do instead of coming into the bank is send it to us electronically, and we will process your applications. All right. On that note, thank you again for the invite, and do have a very good weekend. Stay safe and be safe.
Thank you very much, dear Christina Correia, and she is the marketing officer, Demerara Bank Limited. Have a pleasant rest of the day, ma'am. So while we're saying goodbye there to Christina Correia from the Demerara Bank Limited, we want to say in a very short while, within minutes, we're going to be connected to our reporter Kimor King, and together with Shikima Day and Michaela Prince, they would have been bringing to you our live coverage of what has been going on at the convention center there, the Artichon Convention Center on the East Coast there. The recount started Monday. It's day 3. It's day 5. It's day 5? Day 3, sorry. Yog, I'm looking at the tropical, the coconut trees behind me, yes. And I want to say that Kevin Smith has something to do with that. And I'm feeling kind of tropical myself. So I see Kemal with his head on the table just now. It's been a very long couple weeks rather, for the reporters who've been working months, because it started way before then, maybe December 21st, 2018.
Kemal, I will share with you what Josh has said. No rest for the willing. No rest for the willing. So
no, they've been very willing. I must tell you that. And in a very short while, we are going to open our phone lines, and let me know what thing, because the lines are going to ring.
And don't forget, Leonard, don't forget that at about 10 minutes to 3, we will be joined by Frank Anthony.
Oh, that's good news. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we go straight on to Kemal. Kemal, this morning you were there, day 3. What has happened in the convention center? What do you see? And is it eventful? What is it?
It was less eventful than the first and second day. It kicked off very smoothly, but we had Mr. Anil Nandalal and David Patterson, who came out and spoke to us about certain concerns that they've been having. One of that is the issue of certain workstations deciding on both the first and the second day that they would stop the process maybe an hour or two before the closing time of 7. Mm-hmm. So the rationale behind this is, from Mr. Patterson, is that a box would take about 2 or more hours to examine, and that's about 5:30 or so. If you're done with a box and you start a new one, it may not be completed before the 7 o'clock closing time. So what they do sometimes is they stop counting and they pack up. So you may lose an hour, you may lose an hour and a half or 2 hours. And Anil Nandalal has raised his concern about that. He says that they're wasting a lot of time, and he is very concerned about the pace at which the count is going. When asked what he would advise GCOM to do in such a case, he said that they should start the count of the box, and if they have to go beyond 7, then they should make the sacrifice and go beyond 7, because the country is waiting.
And it's I think Yog, what do we say to people who has been in there for a couple hours versus the country is waiting? Two very good arguments.
Well, Leonard, yes, it is two very good arguments that appears to contradict each other. But I think you ask anyone, any one of us here, what we would have understood by the 7 o'clock deadline is that you would be counting up to then. No, I don't think anybody thought that people would calculate in advance that if we start at 5:30, we're not going to complete the box at 7. However, one must pay heed that you cannot leave a box open. You have to work until it's completed. I would support a call that says, if you're finished counting a box anytime, 30 minutes before 7 or even at 6 o'clock, you should proceed to open another box and go until that box is completed. Because one could argue that Artichoke Convention Center, now Kimal, is an essential service. The entire country, the government, a legitimacy of a Guyana government is awaiting on that. What could be more essential than to have a government sworn in?
Well, then somebody needs to tell those people there that number one, if you're stopped on the road while heading home and you're a GCOM staff or you're a GCOM counter or whatever it is, and the police stop you, you have a legitimate excuse. Hey, the country is waiting.
Well, Leonard, they are issued with the necessary passes, right? That's one. And two, I would like to come back to Kimal with this one because he may want to see clarity on this. He has the answer already. Now, with regards to the counting and the stations there and this thing about closing off early, Kimal, what's your take? Or would you have heard they have a shift system, Leonard? The party agents have set themselves up so that after 3 days or 4 days, there's another set that will come in. Other than maybe the CARICOM observers, I don't know that anybody there are, allocated to be working 25 days, 10 hours a day. But I don't know. This is just something that I heard from the field. Kimal, I don't know if you heard anything like that.
Yolanda Ward has told us that so many staffers have been trained and are on standby that they're alternating days. So if one set of staffers work today, then the next day they're going to work is probably Sunday after another set come in. So it's not a case where you're going to be working 12 hours a day, then you have to go and just get a few hours of sleep and come back in the morning.
So I rest my case then, Leonard. So there is nothing in terms of manpower or tiredness that should stop us from taking the extra hour because they are on a rotation basis. And as Kimal rightly reminded us that the PR officer for GCOM did say that the staff are rotated. So they're not being, stressed out or stretched out on a continuous basis. And that needs to be made clear.
Well, one listener to this program here is pointing out something: 10 workstations, and you lose 1 hour. That's 10 hours being lost per day. Let's put that in our head.
That's true. And 10 hours is at least 2 more boxes if they were to go at 3 hours per box, right?
3 boxes.
So yeah, and you look at it, you're going to reduce. 2 more boxes, and you multiply 2 boxes by 25 days. That's 50 boxes. So you're looking at a compound effect, and they need to get their act right.
Well, based on what we've seen here, what Kimal would have been reporting there, it's very, very clear that we don't seem to have an understanding as to the importance of this entire exercise. And you rightfully said, Yog, that the entire country and entire government depends on what plays out here. And if we don't understand that the sooner we get it over with, it's a better position that we're going to be in to move on and deal with more important things like COVID-19.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So Kimal, yes, go ahead.
And Kimal, so my last suggestion, I know Kimal said yesterday in our chat that he would have probably gotten down to this, but Kimal, maybe may I just suggest that maybe one of the questions we need to ask the party representatives, not necessarily the agents, the representatives, GCOM itself. Is it now viewed that this recount process is essential? And if the answer is yes, then it means they have to pull out all the stops, Leonard.
I would definitely put that to the public relations officer and the other representatives.
So I see this morning, before you go, Kimal, I see this morning that has the treatment of the media, are you seeing an improvement there?
Okay, so when the toilet incident happened yesterday, we made a lot of noise about it. And thankfully, when I went there this morning, I saw that they had set up a portable washroom facility. They had set up lights and charging stations yesterday under the tents. And today now, we've seen them setting up floorings. So there are actually floorings under the tents. So we're being taken care of because they're feeding us lunch and dinner. I'd say it's good, but there are concerns being raised about the safety of the media. There are no security officers who are out here guarding the tents. So sometimes anybody would just come and stand near or under the tent. Sometimes when we're conducting interviews, they might come and interrupt and try to infringe on what's going on, even though they're not media operatives. And there is one aspect to that where they're interfering with our work, but then there's the other aspect where we want to be safe in a time of COVID-19, and so we want to control who is coming into our space. So today, when the GPA president Nazima Ragabir came, she said that media officers, there are measures that we now have to take. For example, if an interviewee comes, we have to have a podium there for them to stand up at. And if they're not wearing a mask, then we refuse to interview them. And there are other bits and pieces of advice that she's giving us. And we're also trying to get more concessions from the public relations officer to ensure that the media is kept safe.
And you know, Yog, there's some lessons to be learned here. Why do we have to wait until it's the third day? We had about a couple weeks of discussions, and if you're talking about the secretariat, taking into account who's going to get food, who's preparing the food, transportation, security, and everything, and the media was kept out of this entire arrangement. You know, very shameful.
I would tell you that a lot of it has been due to the fact that media operatives had to go on Facebook or continuously complain aggressively to the public relations officer. So it's not a matter that it's a case where we had to shame GCOM into making provisions for us. That's simply what it is.
Well, let's see if it. I'm pretty glad that you say charging stations, because you know you're there, you're using your batteries, you're using everything to do live. You go live, you do your reporting, and you actually have electricity there connected to be able to do your work. I think that's a big improvement. So we wait to see what happens.
I have a last question for Kimal.
Sure.
And there are some other developments that I can share with you as well after your question.
Go ahead.
Okay, Mike, has any one of you from the media seen the chairman visiting or being there at the Artisan Convention Center during the recount?
Once we saw her come close to the gate, and the media tried to get an interview from her, but she refused to speak to us. This has been happening over the course of several weeks. The commissioners would come out at the Kingston office and talk to us, but the chair doesn't want to talk to the media.
Okay.
Interesting. So let's see. It's day 3, and you would have had the roundup there. What you're seeing, it's lots of narratives, lots of spins, lots of stories coming out of this statement of poll, that statement of poll, death certificates, dead people voting. So we're not going to confuse the voters. We're not going to confuse the people who are listening, the stakeholders. What we're going to do is continue bringing the news as it comes. The results, I think it will be set for 5 o'clock to 6:30.
The tabulation, 5 to 6:30.
Right, and so they tabulated all the completed box for the day at that period. And so let's wait to see what happens.
Well, Leonard, I think the position has been exactly what the concern you and I raised yesterday. They are tabulating what they could tabulate between 5 to 6:30. They're not tabulating all. And that is another concern that I know needs to be addressed. Remember yesterday we asked a couple of our interviewees whether the hour and a half would be enough. And so based on my information, the hour and a half is not enough, because yesterday they had 65. I think they completed 20 or 25 in terms of tabulation.
It's 25 out of the 40. That's what it did.
I cannot say.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we need to seek some clarity on that because if you have leftover and then you roll over to the next day, if they did not start this morning, then that goes into the 5 to 6:30 this afternoon again.
Correct.
So we have some problems there. It's gonna
And
keep
don't
catching
forget,
up.
Leonard, Kemal can probably clarify this for us. Don't forget that there is segregation there. You know, the people involved in the tabulation are not the people involved in the recount. You know.
Yes,
So
it's two different.
Kemal, what were those people who were in the tabulation room or allocated to do the tabulation? What are they doing? Are they also involved in the recount, or are they also immersed in other activities in the meantime? Do you know?
You're right when you say that there's segregation. Each of them have different appointments to do certain jobs. Similarly, as at a returning officer's office, there's the returning officer and his different clerks with their various designations. So the persons who are working and counting the ballots are not the ones tabulating.
Right.
So a quick roundup there on Wednesday, day one, there would have been 25 boxes counted. Day two, 40 boxes, so that's 65 boxes total. Are they making a projection for today? Are we going to go beyond the 40?
They have. Let me tell you what has been finished right now because I just got an update from the reporters there. The public relations officer just came out and she said that 17 ballot boxes have been counting thus far. And I got that update about 20 minutes ago. So we are 7 and 5, 12, 7 hours in, and we're done with 17 ballot boxes. It would appear as though they may be moving at a slower pace than yesterday. But that could be due to a range of other factors. I mean, there are certain ballot boxes that have way more ballots. And in
Correct.
certain
And it would be
cases, you may have more objections being raised for any one ballot or another.
Well, let's see. The day is far from over, and so we continue to engage our reporter. You would have been hearing there from Kemal King, one of our 3 reporters on ground there. He would have been there with Michaela Prince and Chikimade. Want to wish you all the best, guys, and continue. And thank you very much, there, Mr. Kemal King. Yog, as we continue in a very short while, you said we would have Dr. Frank Anthony. Dr. Frank Anthony, who is going to come from the People's Progressive Party Civic, and he's there at the convention center to give us his take as to what is happening. And so, in a very short while, also, we are going to be opening those phone lines. But I want to come back to what Demerara Bank would have been saying here. And I think we're not hearing from the other banks. Are you aware whether the other banks have taken the initiative to also introduce a moratorium on the payment of loans and advances?
Yes, I got feedback that GBTI has done pretty much the same, putting in a moratorium, reduce interest rates, increase their ATM amount. I know we can reach out and get probably a 5 minutes, 10 minutes from GBTI, hopefully soon. But I think a lot of persons are interested in what, the state of play with regard to NBS and Republic Bank. So we'd have to reach out to them to see what they have to say.
So in the meantime, let me tell you some major news that we have here. This morning, I reached out to the Civil Defense Commission. You know, that is the entity that is tasked with distributing relief in whatever ways in this time of emergency, if you want to say that. And what I was told that they are very nearing the completion of a list of vulnerable persons, entities, business entities, among other things, and they're populating that list right now. They're very near to the end of that, and by next week, they are gonna probably make some announcements and make arrangements for those families that badly want help to start receiving them. I think we would have seen about a week or two back that they would have shared out some hampers to the societies, that the Society for the Blind and the Deaf and so on. And so what we're going to see very shortly are those people that they're going to target, not only the pensioners and the single parents. What you're also going to see is that there's a big chunk of workers who would have lost their job because of some reason or the other. And I think they're working along with NDCs and so on. Same thing that you and I would have raised. Where was the NDC and the RDC in this entire process? Why are we populating a list of vulnerables at this point in time? But remember, they also said that the vulnerables, they're also including now those persons who were just working and then all of a sudden were told with the introduction of the curfew and so on that look, we can't open the store anymore, and so therefore you stay at home, and they would probably have been receiving little or no parts of their salary, so that they're going to be contemplated in that final list of who are going to be targeted, whether it's going to be hampers, whether it's going to be care packages, or whether it might be cash. I'm not sure. And of course, they are looking at small businesses, how to get them back on the road, how to put them, maybe if you have loans and so on, maybe there's going to be some kind of arrangement there. I think that is what they're working on. They've been very silent, but my sources are telling me that.
Right, right. And there is another worrying development tool, Leonard. As you know, the champion labor leader, GAU's head, Komal Chan, he passed away a couple of weeks ago. I think there is a problem. It's a month now since he passed on in Cuba. He and his wife was there with him. And I think the family has been trying to get the necessary relevant permits in place to bring the body home and to bring the wife home, but nothing has been done. And they, based on a release from GAU today, they're still awaiting government's word and government say so to proceed with getting that done.
They let me tell you something. That is going to be a very hot issue, Yog. Let me tell you why. In my street where I live there in Diamond, we have a relative, and he died recently, and he was taken to the Diamond Hospital where he was ill for a little while. And then they brought him home, and he fell down, and by the time they rushed him, I think he died hours after in the hospital. The point is, his daughter's in Trinidad, and she can't come back for the funeral. He's stuck there. I think tomorrow is the funeral. And so that family, I'm not sure how she's gonna, but it's gonna be very traumatizing. We have those scores of person Guyanese who would have gone over there to either to do some business or the other, maybe in vacation, and then bam, the curfew and the closures of the airport came within hours. They can't come home back. So I think it's very unfortunate. I'm not sure how do you allow a body to be flown in back maybe on a special flight. There's students who's gone to the law school in Trinidad, stuck. Medical students in maybe China, India, somewhere, stuck.
Right.
Cuba too. Who do you determine to bring or not to bring? So it's a big issue. It's very sad too, because Komal Chan, former parliamentarian, very big, very well known, and GAU, he was the GAU #1 man. So it is going to be a big issue. But we are going to open our lines until we, in a few moments, we are going to get Dr. Frank Anthony. Let's go straight to the lines, 226-7453, 226-7453, and you want to send us a text or so, 622-222. Yog, so it's day 3 of the elections recount. And so if you want to call us, let's keep those questions very short, and let's get everybody who wants to think. So there's a caller on the line. Go ahead, caller. Good afternoon. You're in your air.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
I call in from Tilacrabo Creek.
Yes, sir. Could you lower the volume on your radio, please?
Yes, government, please.
Yes.
Yes, I call in concern the guys who workers what been dismissed from them jobs since 2017. And none of them get a regular job up to now. I am one of the persons. I used to work at the sawmill on 3 days a week, and the sawmill closed down about 2 months now. I work in a part-time car on the road, so they maybe make $1,500 per the road per day. And so they're not working all day because somebody car me working. Because you can't work the car and not pay the people the money. And nobody not talk, everybody been a promise the sugar workers, they will do this, do that. And nobody not mention nothing about the sugar workers right now. And many sugar workers not get on regular jobs since they come out. Some doing fishing work, the quarantine river stop. They don't do no fishing work. Some work in the farm produce not sell. Some work in the sawmill not work. Some work in taxi cannot work because you cannot afford to pay the people who carry working. And nobody now mention about them. Then sharing hamper, when they sharing hamper, the people who get the hamper to share, then give their own friends and family. Then I give who needed the thing.
So, who is sharing hamper up there? Do you know?
He had some people come around with a bus and said the government share the hamper. And that go in one home, and like that home pick who you want to give. They don't give like people who need like Gaisuku workers. You know them know where Gaisuku workers here. And them should call with the Gaisuku people them to give them something.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the Gaisuku is earn about $11,000 a week out of crop. But in the crop you make something. But now you not get a regular job, and nobody not mention nothing about sugar workers.
So it's very tough time, and that's Crabwood Creek.
Crabwood Creek, Skeleton, and 71, all about have sugar workers were laid off in just since 2017, and none get about 5,000 must get a regular job. And the only person who must get a regular job that was senior staff who come off on the estate, and so they might get a regular job. But the normal workers like me and the other one, they get a regular job. And nobody now mention nothing about them.
Well, I do thank you for that. And still from Crabwood Creek, that's a former sugar worker. And I do thank you for that, sir. Yog, while we saying goodbye to that gentleman there, you know, it is a big issue. We had, about 5,000-6,000 workers that was let loose?
Correct. And it is a big issue indeed, Leonard. It comes back to what you and I would have been talking about all this time. I mean, there needs to be a holistic approach towards giving people help. You know, I don't know, and we are not getting the kind of releases and information from the COVID task force or from those persons who think that they are in authority to disseminate to people. So it's increasingly worrying, Leonard.
I know a lot of companies have taken it upon themselves. They're going into a lot of hinterland area and so on. We're not getting a sense of what is really happening, especially in the riverine area where there are a lot of families who would have been caught up. We know, like, for example, in Region 9, I'm not sure whether any flights are getting in and out of Region 9. That's because they want to stop or to reduce the possibilities of the COVID-19 spreading from there. It's very, very easy. The border areas is where there's a lot of fear going on. And so those areas, a lot of supplies have been caught up to especially in Region 9, you know, we have the sub-regions and so there. You're right, we're not getting any kind of sense as to what exactly or how those people are faring.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And don't forget, Leonard, that these are not, I mean, the gentleman that just called, he doesn't represent an individual, you know, he represents a family. So when you're looking, and you and I keep repeating it on the program here, we are not talking about individuals and adults. I'm concerned about the children and, you know, what allowances are being made for the children.
Absolutely. And so we have another caller on line there. Good afternoon, caller, you on air.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. Could you help me to find out how I can get some hamper? I was working at the Chinese restaurant in Providence, and they laid off all the staff more than 2 months ago. And so we don't have any jobs, we don't have any money, they haven't given us anything. Could you help me to get something from the CDC? How can I go about it?
All right, if you have access, could you lower your volume of your radio, please?
I don't have on the radio.
All right. We're getting a slight feedback here, so sorry for that. Any case, if you have access to the CDC, what we could do is I'm going to try to get a number for the CDC. You guys could call and register there. I think they have some kind of mechanism there, or they have a register there. And I think you would know, right? They would have a register there in which they could probably put on those persons. I know the CDC is working very closely along with the National Data Management Authority, NDMA, to make up that list of persons who would be eligible for help.
Could you say where they're located?
Okay, CDC is located on Camp Haingana in that area there, Yog?
Yes, it is. I'm pulling it up as we speak.
Hold 1 second, ma'am. We could try to get that to you.
So, on what area you're calling from again?
Pardon?
what area are you calling from?
Diamond.
Oh, okay, okay. And how is it in Diamond? Meanwhile, we are getting this information. How is it in Diamond? Are people staying home, or is it business as usual? Are people paying heed to the distancing and?
People are staying home, but because they don't have jobs, they're crawling out to see if they could get anything to do. And also there are lots of ganging up with young men at street corners, you know, and maybe they go back and steal from people nighttime. You know, it's very scary. You have them smoking dope, and they're just ganging up during the day.
Right.
And so I don't know. It's a little difficult, and you don't have anything. You're eating once a day, a little bit, right?
Right.
So we people just want to have something, you know, and I don't understand. Maybe they're sharing out little hampers, but they're not coming around in Diamond area.
Well, the information we received was that initially they had started to share out some stuff, and then they realized that they needed to build a proper database. In other words, they needed to identify who they could give help to. And as Leonard said earlier, they're working, well, that is almost completed. So hopefully very soon, they can get to that stage where they're once again making this distribution to the various areas. They're in Thomas Road, Leonard. Their number is 226-1114.
Whose number is it?
That is CDC, Civil Defense Commission.
226.
1114. Yeah, that's 3 ones and a 4. So you just call them, and I think maybe you could request from them how do you go about doing it. I'm sure, because CDC is populating that list at the moment.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
Do have a pleasant rest of the afternoon.
And Leonard, the CDC does have on its Facebook page photos of, you know, sharing out hampers and sharing out masks and so forth, which is something very good. They should keep it up. And of course, they said that they distributed masks to the elderly homes. And that brings me to another point, Leonard. I think we have had one death from the Palms, or one of the...
One of the person that died recently is from the Palms, and that's a very worrisome thing when I heard the news yesterday. I'm not sure.
We need to talk to somebody who in charge there to let us know what's the overall security of the persons there.
I think they would have quarantined a few of the staffers there. They have to. I think that's according to protocols that would have been activated. If they treated the person, who else the person would have come in contact with.
Correct.
And I think the necessary protocols would have been activated for them to ensure that there is control over that. In the meantime, we're going to try to... Okay. We will continue to try to get Dr. Frank Anthony.
Yeah, he's in a meeting. He's in a meeting presently. He just texted me to say he's in a meeting. He'll try to join as soon as he can.
All right. In the meantime, we have another caller online. Caller, good afternoon. You're on air.
Hi, good afternoon, Mr. Gildarie. Good afternoon, Mr. Yog Mahadeo.
Good afternoon.
Actually, I tuned in a little late this afternoon. The time fly by so fast, you know, your kids home, you have to spend a little time with them with the book work and so on.
Yes, sir.
So I didn't really get to hear is there a special topic this afternoon or just COVID and the election watch?
Well, we would have had a little earlier. The Demerara Bank would have been telling us some of the measures that they would have introduced to ensure that the customers that they have, there's some relief for them. It's not much by any big stretch of the imagination. It is a start. A 3 months moratorium if you have a loan with them, meaning that you don't pay for 3 months. They've waived all the ATM fees, and of course their measures within the bank. You got to wash your hands, stay 6 feet apart. Some other stuff that they're doing too.
Okay. Well, my contribution today is that you know, everybody is calling for this transparency of this recount that's going on. And now, if we have the live streaming, we cannot get a live streaming. And then we are also not accommodating the media. How would we get this over to the populace, to the voters? How would we get this information over to them? Don't we see them as an important section of this country? Or also, I think there is a stakeholder also, because your voter and your ballot is in there. So
Mhm.
if the media not gonna be a part and GCOM not gonna stream it live, then we actually in the dark, because what percentage of this country do have the internet? So you could go on and you could see. That not said, also you have audio, I think, from the 10 station, but I think if you have 25 people who might be tuning into that, you have a lot. So I don't think that serves the purpose. So I think more light should be spread and more pressure should be applied for the media to get involved. At least for a certain time, they should be involved, especially if we could get a tabulation to run on the television, because a lot of people do not have access to this Wi-Fi, and or maybe you cannot use data plans to see this thing, right? But
Okay.
said that, my next point is that I noticed one from following for the past 3 days. You have one party claiming one set of anomalies they find and whatsoever, but you also claim you won the election without submitting or making your statement of poll public that you won. So I see something wrong with this, to my sanity and my knowledge, that you actually derailing your victory. Because if you're going to see all these things popping up now, pink paper, pink list is not in the box, dead people voted, people migrated, and all kind of things. These things does not rest at the other side, other party feet. This thing rests with GCOM, because GCOM is solely responsible for the day-to-day affairs and all the elements that in the box. So if something is missing there, that not should be rest at any other political party. GCOM has to answer to that, and I think they should come out on a daily basis or the next day, and highlight this problem and give the answers to clear their name. Thank you very much.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much.
So, Yoga, let me tell you something. If you were to listen to all the stories, all the narratives that are coming out there, who's saying what with death certificates, with the other side having secret meetings, where the other side says accusing the coalition of doing this and doing that, you're going to run very crazy. I think as media person, you got to very quickly separate fact from fiction. You could probably report on it, but you would have to continuously have the other side of the story, because social media is being used or abused in such a way now. It's very difficult to understand or to know what is true, what is not true. You get very, very confused at the end of the day unless you know you're on the ball, your foot is on the pedal, and you know what is happening down at the convention center there. So
Correct.
you know, Yoga,
But Leonard, there is a difference, you know. Look, I think that the entire population by now, after 60 odd days, 66 days on now, we know what to expect from each political party. We almost can predict what the political parties will say and what kinds of things will come up. But I don't think anybody expect GCOM to to not make decisions with alacrity to ensure that the recount is thing. But you know, it's early days yet. It's day number 3, as you rightly say. We're optimistic that they can make the right decisions and have the count speeded up as the days go by. Because mind you, the agents there are on rotation basis, so they could extend the count by an hour. They could say, okay, if you are blank, if your workstation has no box at 5 o'clock or up to 5:30, make a line, draw a line. Up to 6 o'clock, if you have no box, you should start counting a box and go beyond the time.
good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, you're in the air. Go ahead, Carlo.
Mr. Leonard, it's weeks that I've been trying to get on to you.
Oh my.
I'm a vendor, right?
Yes, sir.
And I sell at wrong by Cathedral side. And I am home since the 18th of March month. And I'm not working, trying to stay home to avoid the COVID out there. And I'm home here. Nobody ever just come here to see what's going on in Farm East Bank I live.
That's on the new scheme.
No NDC or anything. Yes, in the new scheme. You have to be vulnerable to get something in this place. Everybody's vulnerable. Everybody needs help.
Mm-hmm. Certainly.
So what is the help that you're asking for?
I need need a hamper. I need something. I can't afford to sit down home and ain't getting anything to eat. Everybody just keeps saying to stay home, stay home. Just like listening to this program, I heard you telling this girl about calling this number, this 226-1114, and I call it, and they're telling you to dial some not, and I'm trying to call it, and I'm not getting through to anybody. So I don't know what else to do.
Well, you know what we're going to do, Yog? We're going to tell the lady here. We're going to have to test it, call those numbers, find out where exactly we got to call, and then we could tell our listeners.
And we can release it.
Right. I think this is what we have to do because those are the numbers that we have. And this is the first time, I think, opening the lines, you're really seeing a lot of the stories that are coming out now of the hardship that people get in getting information as to where do they turn to.
I'm a vendor. I pack up my stand, it's how long since the 18th of March, and I'm home. There is no one that is interested in Farm East Bank. Not because you're living in a new scheme, you don't need help. You have to live in Albaisong, you have to live in Tiger Bay. Where you really got to live? I was thinking about going to set up a camp somewhere in Albaisong, see if they're going to come and give me something.
But let me ask you a question for somebody who doesn't know what you're going through. You have how many kids right now?
I don't have kids.
And you and your husband
But
alone?
Yes, me and my husband alone. But you don't have to have kids to get help.
No.
We all are in this thing.
So it's hard, and so he's not working right now.
My husband alone is got to go to work. Right now they send him home. And if we don't get paid during the month, we don't have anything to get. But still, we need some help. We need some sort of help. All the rest of the country helping people. What is going on in Guyana? I've been trying to get onto you many days now, and I wasn't getting onto you. And I thank God I get onto you today.
Well, I do thank you for that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna test those numbers that we have for the CDC. We're gonna make contact with the authorities, and we're gonna share it with you guys.
Let's do that.
All right, so we're going to go ahead with that. And I thank you for calling there, ma'am, and do have a pleasant rest of the day.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard.
Thank you very much. So, Yoga, it is... you hear these stories, and every day I shouldn't be surprised. I should be immune to it, but it really, really hurts you to be listening to these, to some of the cries of the people. And I'm hoping that the authorities who are supposed to be looking into these matters are listening, and maybe I think what the people are really calling out for is information. Nobody's saying anything.
Correct. And remember, there are groups that are going around sharing, like Max and other groups that are going around sharing food stuff. You have been part of our team, Leonard, that has shared out hampers. One of our brothers, as you know, last week, Brother Azar, I sent you some of the photos. Donated, hundreds of pounds of provisions, as we call them in Guyana. All of that was distributed, but, you need something on a systematic, continuous basis because people have to continue living. And those are the answers we don't have.
Well, somebody should be saying something, and we can't keep quiet about it anymore. I'm going to be ponging some doors again today. I did pong on the CDC door, but we have another caller on the line. Go ahead, caller, you in the air.
Good afternoon to you, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
I just want to commend you to Dr. Yog Mahadeo and Gildarie for doing a very fantastic job.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I've been listening to this program for a couple of weeks now, and it's really, really helpful. And you're shedding a lot of light on a lot of things. Just a couple of things. Concerning this recount. If APNU wins this election, why is it they're not happy to get this count speed up and speed at this thing? I heard the comments of Mr. Patterson, and he's saying they stop at this, if they start at 5:30, if the back stop, because you take an hour or so on. So this thing is so ridiculous, man. They should ensure that this, if you got to go and come till 7 o'clock and then start to pack up your things and get this recount passed up so that as they said they win, so that they could get the in-office passed. But it is clearly that they did not win the election. They want to derail the whole process and slow it down so that they could find a whole lot of excuse to remain in power. It is a sad situation. The other thing is, how could you telling people to stay home and not giving them nothing? People are suffering out here, and you telling them to stay home and you're not giving them nothing. You want to stop the spread of COVID-19. The only way you could stop the spread of COVID-19 is you ask us Guyanese people to stay home, and you're bringing up a hamper, and you're giving us things so that we could stay home. Our families and our children are getting to eat. I heard me, Dr. Yog Mahadeo is preaching every time on this program, and you, Mr. Gildarie. People are starving out there. People are starving. And these people in authority, they're not listening. People are literally starving out here. I'm calling from Puerto Rico, and there are people who are suffering in this area. I'm telling you, and nobody is coming. Look, the good life that Apnu talk about is for them alone. And I heard yesterday program, people saying they need, somebody called, I think, and they said, they need some cash to spend. This government, they don't believe in giving out cash. That was the interview I heard from the First Lady and the President. They don't believe in giving out money to people. You got to go out there and work hard. They will give you a hook for going fishing and biting in these seasons. That is it. I can go on forever, but I want to thank you for this program. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. Don't worry, death threat and all that. You will live, you shall not die. Continue the program. People won't like you. Keep up the good work, you gentlemen. God bless you.
And so I thank you very much for that, sir. That's a call there from Puerto Rico. We had one from Farm and another one from Crabwood Creek. So they coming from all over yoga. The calls, the cries are coming from all over the place in Guyana. And so we'd have to continue knocking at the doors to find some answers to these people here. I think the opening of the lines is really, it's given a true sense of what is really transpiring. Caller, you on the line, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Comrade Leonard and Dr. Yog.
Yes, sir.
Let me compliment both of you gentlemen for your good work. And I pray that God will continue to bless you to enlighten what is happening so the people can get an update into the home. But Leonard, let me say this. This is my view to you and Dr. Yog.
Yes, sir.
We have been tossed with COVID-19. And many afternoon I would look at the opening prayer. I'm a religious leader. I'm a social chairman for an NDC. I'm a party activist. I'm not speaking in any party activist here at this point of time. But what we see happen with COVID-19 in Guyana at this set time, this is not something was being bring by the government. This is something that is happening, that God ordained what to happen. But the situation now in Guyana, that people are not getting to eat and people are starving and people were not able to put food on the table for their family. It is the cause of the government, the caretaker government, because why? We would have had an election March the 2nd. And if we were not dilly-dally around the place and trying to do all the gymnastics, fooling the Guyanese people by this corrupted government and GCOM, the people would have able to be in a better situation and people could have able to dwell with this situation of COVID-19 and able to provide better for their family. Lastly, I want to say, the GCOM and the government know where their perks are coming from, so they don't care about the poor people. They don't concern about the poor people. We all know what will happen with this election recount, and we know the delay status is about what. So, Leonard, I want to say to you and Dr. Yog Mahadeo, may your voice continue to be heard. I will remember you, gentlemen, in my prayer. We have to pray. Prayer got to help us now and help this nation, not only this nation, around this whole world, but I think Guyana is facing the worst of it, because we are not only dealing with COVID-19, we are dealing with the election period also, which has been delayed by a group of people who are fighting to hold power for themselves and their family, and they don't care about the ordinary people who are suffering out there. You know who cares about the ordinary people? People like you, people like Dr. Yog, and many other thousands out there who has going out there and reaching out. And lastly, Every person in this country needs help at this point of time. Let's say you're not getting to work. Dr. Yoga not getting to work. I'm not getting to work. We might have a good house. We can able to pay our bill. We are going into our little savings. How long we will be able to depend on what we save and what we have, that will come and finish. So we will end up in a situation like the small man also.
And I do thank you. And where are you calling from,
so
sir?
much.
I'm calling from Better Hope North. I'm the social chairman for the Better Hope and LBI NDC. And I want to say to you, I'm an imam, I'm a religious leader. I have been out there. I have been distributing as much hamper as I can. I also met with a businessman today. I asked him to do 10 hampers for me. I am asking the Muslims to come out. If you have 6 items in your kitchen, take one of those items and give it to someone. Make one hamper. Give a pack of rice, a pack of flour, something to the unfortunate. If we put our shoulder to the wheels, we can help each other. But gentlemen, please allow me lastly, this suffering that is facing this nation, I am saying in my view, it is because of this government, Granger and his administration, that is causing the people to suffer, because it's already over 2 weeks and we cannot have an election result. And I have no confidence in Clarice Singh anymore, Aujikam. And I pray for you and Dr. Yog Prasad and your family. May God bless you, grant you long life, and continue the good work.
Thank you very much, dear sir. And he's calling from the east coast of Demerara, the Better Hope area. Thank you very much, dear sir. And I think, Yoga, you see some very pertinent points. What are some of the things that you're taking away from these calls?
Well, there is something that came out of the last 2 conversations, well, the last 3, including this very recent call. And respect to you, Imam. Leonard, may I suggest that, you and your good cap as a journalist, maybe somebody needs to ask the COVID task force to say, okay, you received 400,000 US dollars, or at least the US government announced it was releasing some monies. And then ExxonMobil announced it gave $60 million to the CDC. Can there be an accounting of where and how this money was used? Because remember, there are a number of things that has to be done. One is that we got to buy, the medical stuff that is needed, and things like that. So maybe we need some report from the COVID task force to say how much monies was received, would have been received, and how was it spent. And so the people of the country will know what is really happening.
Yes, and I think there has not been a press conference, I think, for the last week or 2 by the National COVID Task Force. And so we'd have to ask them again. I'd probably have to ask our contacts in there what is happening. We need some answers on a couple of things.
We have a caller wants to come in from Canada.
Yes.
Let him boy just send him that contact.
Yes. Good afternoon, caller. You on the air?
Hi, Gildarie and Dr. Mahadeo. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
My contribution this afternoon is first in regards to COVID and how we can assist. I would join with all the callers from Crabwood Creek, Parika, and all over on this coast. Every area, every region have their own pain. And a lot of people are suffering right now. And what we need to do, I think the CDC, the people who is in charge, we don't have government, but the people who is in charge need to step up. This thing should have gone through to create a proper database. They can't do it by themselves. They need to get all these NDCs involved and let the NDC do some of the groundwork so they can create a proper database. After that, you know who the vulnerable people are and who really needs this support. We have everything or most of it is right here, like provision, rice. We have that here. We can get flour right here, and get these companies to get these rice mills, talk to them, buy it. They can't afford to give you for free because they're buying the paddy. and reach out to these people. But it comes back to what is happening to our electoral process. Unless this thing is completed and a government is installed, only then I see all of this is going to become reality and people is going to get help. Because my personal opinion is that the people who is responsible, is in charge, they doesn't care anything about who is on the ground, whether you would have voted for them or not. All they're concerned about right now is going after power. I see they're putting up some crazy stuff on the Facebook and social media. PPP didn't want the recount. They didn't want the recount. Now, the point I'm making is they're just concentrating on power. They're not concentrating on COVID-19 or putting real emphasis there, so we can curb COVID-19 and what are some of the measures. If we want people to stay in, then support them. And these are things that we can do. I went in New Amsterdam today. I'm calling you all the way from Abari. Up the river. I went in New Amsterdam this morning. The GPL line is I can't explain, this is a government place. Why we should have lines like that, people cluster there. People lining up to pay their electricity, people lining up to pay water bill. I see that also in New Amsterdam this morning. Then we are not serious in what we are saying. All we are interested in is how we can hold on to power, even if it means doing the wrong thing. Allow the recount to go smoothly. Try to speed up the process, lengthen the hours. Let we get the government installed, and then we can able to manage COVID in a better way.
Yes,
that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. A caller there from Abari. And Yog, that gentleman straight off has raised a very, very important point. I think it's time now for us to take stock that there are many alternatives to paying bills. You could do it through the bank. You could do it on your phone. I think GT&T has that thing, MMG. I think even e-networks have some mechanism there. We don't have to be joining lines. And so we got to start. COVID-19 has taught us a very, very big lesson. If you're now joining us, this is a special edition of the elections and COVID-19 watch. And if you want to call us, the number is 226-7453, 226-7453, or you could WhatsApp us on 6222222. There's a caller online. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air.
Hi, good afternoon, Gildarie.
Yes. Yo.
Dr. Yog. Yeah, I'm calling, about the CDC. I think they share some hamper, and I think that if they divide that hamper in two, a lot of people are going to get hamper because it's a very large bag, and most of the people, they get two stuff, like 2 rice, 2 flour, 2 sugar, 2 nut butter, and this kind of thing. Because while some people, they are starving to death, some people, they're eating to death, and I think that's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people out there, they're suffering. Some people, and some people, like one family, the mother, the daughter, the husband, and the son get. And, it's not safe. For some people out there, some people, they're struggling. They're hungry. And, other, I think CDC, they can do much better than that. Just divide the one bag and give 2 persons one bag. This is my suggestion.
I thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yog, a very, very pertinent point there, and I think it comes back to what CDC is doing at the moment. They had, I think when the president appointed Joseph Harmon, when the government appointed Joseph Harmon there as the chief executive officer for that COVID, I think it's a national COVID-19 task force. It was instructed that he establish a secretariat. And one of the first things that they do was put a halt or they started working on populating a list of vulnerables. One of the things I think they also started looking at was what is it that we're going to give people? What is it that they need? I think those were some of the big questions that came on board. And so we have a caller online. We have somebody here.
We have a visitor here from Canada, Mr. Gary Duarte. How are you, sir?
Yes, good evening. Great job, guys. Good evening. All the way
You
from
got a little
Toronto.
sideways there, man. I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's
How's
better.
that now?
Yes.
All right. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. Great show, guys. Listen to you guys' show every day. Last night I watched the first election watch show. I think was last night.
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. You guys have a really, really good show. As a Guyanese Canadian living in Canada, it's very upsetting that every day we have to be bombarded with all these fake stuff being put up by operatives in Guyana that have claimed that they have won the elections, but yet they cannot produce their lottery ticket to show that they won it. And now that they seem to be in trouble, they keep creating a lot of uproars in Guyana. And that I don't think that's a very good thing. I think that everybody has their own views and their own stuff to everything. But at the same time, I could see if these people continue with this, it could only go in the bad way for Guyana and the election. Because as an outsider, like I say, I haven't voted for any party there, and I have never voted in Guyana. I moved to Canada, but I'm just looking at an outsider, a Guyanese living outside, into the whole situation. I've been following this from the very beginning. They signed on knowing that they would not have house registration. They let it go. Now that the elections is finished, they declare their win. When Region 4, right, was, I would say, half of it was completed, they realized that they did not have the amount of votes that they would have hoped they had to win Region 4 by more than 20,000 votes so that they could get in. So my whole take on it is that, like today, you would have seen the latest is that Mr. Harmon wrote a letter to GCOM asking for the removal of this guy, the IP guy that was in supposedly a hidden meeting, right? Now, my whole thing about that is that that place has a lot of security cameras. The guy that you interviewed last night, I think it would have been from one of the smaller parties.
Okay, Dr. Josh.
Josh
Correct.
Kanai, the new movement.
Right. That's correct. That's correct. He had a video up, right, stating that he was also in the room and nothing of the sort happened. Nothing of the sort happened.
Now, so what's your take with regards? How do you think the next 20 days will go? What's your gut feel?
Well, I think that they have a narrative that every day raise issues. Now we see another thing they're saying coming out of some place in where Mr. President-elect Mr. Dr. Irfan Ali, because he is the president of Guyana. I have no doubt in my mind about that. But they're saying that in his stronghold, the PPP stronghold, right? They had an issue with name stick off, but they can't find some paper in the box. Now you're going to tell me something. You're not a small fries party, according to what Mr. Benchcroft would call them, small fries party, right? You are, as far as I see it, that's not APNU AFC, because I'm sure a lot of them APNU and AFC people that sign up in a party, that is PPP tactics. So my answer to James Bond on his post, are you disputing that, or are you saying that your APNU polling stations, knowing that that is a stronghold of Mr. Irfan, would not have made sure that certain things were checked properly at that polling station? Are you trying to say that your polling agents are wrong?
Right. So
or are you trying to say that GCOM is wrong?
Right. We get your point, and I think a lot of Guyanese share your sentiments there, sir. And thank you for coming in. One of the things that I want to quickly let the Guyanese brothers and sisters know that Mr. Gary Duarte here, he's a Canadian Guyanese, but his heart is really, really in Guyana. And his parents, his entire lineage has been they would have all been very involved in the political landscape of Guyana, even though he has decided to take a holiday and stay out of the political landscape. But the gentleman has had his father and everybody being part of the landscape. So how do you feel being outside of it all?
It is hard to watch. Mm-hmm. Why? And when in saying that, what I mean is that Yog Gildarie, we all heard statements up to the recent statements coming out, right, from caretaker president Mr. Granger, Arthur Granger, saying that the elections were free and fair. So, if the elections was free and fair, why are these people from your party objecting to all these things and making the process harder?
Right, got you. So, well, thanks for that, and do stay in touch. Unfortunately, we gotta get on with the program. It's almost 3:30.
Beautiful.
But thanks for coming in, and as you know, we value everybody's opinion as we do you too, sir. So, thank you so much.
Thank you to both of you, and at any time, I'm always willing to come on the show and voice my opinions on whatever.
Great.
I am paying close attention to everything. Just one more point. The point where they're saying that Mr. Bond is saying that the PPPC pulled down their web page. That is not true because I was able to go on the web page yesterday. But if you try to get in there by IP and you try to hack that web page, you will get that error message because I'm pretty smart with computer and stuff like that. So I know that. So a lot of the narratives that they're putting out, I am praying and I'm asking all parties to stay out of it. Let GCOM do what they have to do, and let's go on with the process. I know it's going to be impossible for 25 days. That's not going to happen. But be safe, people. Keep the peace, and let us go by the laws of Guyana.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Duarte, and you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Beautiful. I will.
Thank you very much, dear. That's Mr. Gary Duarte, and he's calling there from Canada. Thank you very much. Lots of people called him from all across the country and even from Canada there. And let me go quickly to some text messages. Hey, guys, what's your take on the PPP? What's the take on the PPP having supporters protest in front of the ministry recently, and the APNU have supporters in front of the Arthur Chung Convention Center, especially at a time when COVID-19 and social distances is being preached? That's one. Lady from Grove. Good afternoon. What about people that leave the family in Guyana and the overseas and wanted to come home badly? What is it that they're doing to these people that are there? And she's calling from Grove there. Let me see the other one. Gentleman, he's saying, I see that the government has taken compulsory acquisition of the Ocean View Hotel. Did they compensate the owner? And let me see if there's anything else. I think that's about it. Oh, good afternoon. I'm trying to get some help. I have been at home since March. I have to pay the water bill and light bill. I can't pay it. I have no job. I have 3 kids. I got to find food for them. I got to eat every day. I'm from Diamond. So, Yog, some things there to think about. Some of the thoughts of the people when it comes as to what are the needs and so on.
One of the good things, though, Leonard, is we are thankful to everyone. Send us your thoughts, send us your questions. We may not have the answers, but certainly when we talk to the powers that be, we can ask them. Leonard, on another note, just aside from COVID and aside from elections, if I may just quickly take 30 seconds, I just want to wish someone a very happy birthday, someone very special to me. And as you know, my brother, you're my brother. So if she is special to me, then she would be special to her family. So I just want to take this moment to give a shout out to Anita. Today is her birthday.
Oh,
and happy
that's my
birthday,
sister,
Anita.
man.
Yes. So happy birthday, Anita. And I must say, COVID has been very, very harsh to us all. Economically, we're all suffering. But Leonard, I must tell you, Anita has started to learn or relearn how to cook some really sumptuous sweets. So
We
that
should
has
tell
been
them that
working out
nobody
quite well
knows
for
who
me.
Anita is. You need to tell them who Anita is, man.
We will one day. We are going to work. She's actually working on building our recipe for all of these things.
Oh, okay. So there's a COVID recipe?
Yes, yes.
Well, let me tell you what is a good.
Lockdown recipes.
Well, let me tell you this. It's only when you're locked down then you know how people love you. I ain't gonna say nothing much to that, but well,
don't say more.
Let me tell you what is gonna happen from Monday, yo. We're gonna start. I've been given permission from the management of the radio station. Good news. I begged them this morning. I said a lot of people are calling in, and they have given us permission to start at 1:30. So we're gonna be able to accommodate more calls. As of Monday from 1:30. So we're gonna be with you instead of joining at 2 o'clock. We're gonna be with you at from 1:30. Now, Yog, our program 592, your program rather, 592 has really been hitting it. A lot of people tuning in, and because we are hitting the right notes when it comes to analyzing what has happened during the day. That happens again tonight. So bring us up to speed. What is likely?
Yes. Thank you for that, Leonard. And to viewers and listeners out there, indeed, we have started 592, a room in which we say we unleash the truth. We talk to the different persons, we talk about the current events, and we get to the bottom of it. No holds barred, no spins allowed. We really address and unleash the truth in room 592. That happens every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. However, again, Leonard, thank you for reminding me to, through the kind compliments of Lenlal and Kaichor News and Kaichor Radio, they have asked us and we have agreed to hold the room 592 every night at 8 p.m. to give you an election update. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to have a compressed room 592 with just elections update. But Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're going to have a regular 592 program. And ladies and gentlemen, tonight, we're going to have a special guest, Mr. Alex Arjun, who created a wonderful video, documentary on the coastlands of Guyana. Remember, while we're also focused on elections and COVID, there are other things happening in the country. There is oil, there is environment, there are so many things. And Alex Arjun has developed a wonderful documentary to showcase the threat that Guyana's coastlands are under. And so I would encourage you to have a look at his video. But we're going to have a chat with Alex Arjun tonight, Leonard, you and I, at 7:30 p.m. And
8 o'clock or 7:30?
Well, tonight is 7:30.
Yes.
Next week we start at 8. Tonight, 7:30, we're going to talk to Alex Arjun about the coastlands, have a brief synopsis from him as to the backdrop to his videos. And then, of course, before we close the program off, we will be having an election recount update from Commissioner Sais Gunraj. All of that is happening tonight, and hopefully we're talking to a few of the other parties involved in the process. Hopefully we can get a couple of them coming on. So we certainly have a good lineup for tonight, Leonard.
I do thank you for that, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, my co-host on elections and COVID-19 watch. It's been a pleasure as normal. It has been a little painful at times listening to some of the stories that are coming out from our people. We will continue to do what we can from our end to ensure that the messages get across to the powers that be. There are many queries today, the issues raised by the people. We're going to try to reach out again to the CDC, and we're going to give you those information as soon as we meet again. I'm not sure what is going to play out tomorrow. Let's see what happens. The count continues over the weekend. We have 17 boxes so far as at 2 o'clock when we started, counted for the day. It seems a little slower than yesterday, during which 40 boxes were counted. On Wednesday, it was 25. So we're hoping that maybe they could at least get that 40 today. But it seems there seems to be hope dwindling on that. Let's see what happens there, Yog. But it's day 3. The stories are turning and twisting, but we have a recount that is fully on. The parties are up with the tails up in the air, and many stories coming out from there, many narratives, and the population is very confused. But we're going to set that process right. We're going to bring you the news as it is. Thank you very much from wherever you are. Thank you very much, dear Yog Mahadeo, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, and thank you, listeners from across the country. Have some strength. If you're joining us from in the Caribbean, North America, Europe, wherever you are, thank you for being with us, and do have a pleasant rest of the day until we back with you this evening on room 592.
Psycho. No.